Lights. Camera.
I'm already recording.
Action. Maction!
Maction.
Holy shit, that was so good! Max, you have to start this episode with that. As your producer, I'm not giving you a choice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of $1 Million Media. I am your host, Max Kellerhalls, and with me today, I have a packed room. With me, I have the return of the Gruesome Twosome.
Hi.
Say your name.
I'm Josh. You may remember me from the last 2 episodes of the show.
Uh-huh.
And I'm Joelle.
Nice to see you again. And brand new guests with me are...
I'm Nora.
And...
Hi, I'm Willow.
Nice to see everybody today because this is the premiere episode of Anime April.
Woohoo!
Where the entire
Yes.
month of April we're going to be talking about many different types of anime, just with various different guests. A lot of the guests here today are members of Wave Radio. It's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be introducing you to a lot of new anime that some of you never heard about, a lot of new anime I've never heard about, and also I just think it's going to be a fun time talking with a lot of these really cool people. The first one we're going to be talking off is actually Josh's pick, and this is one that I think a lot of you have probably heard about, Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Tokyo Ghoul because it was a thing that I heard about a lot back when I was in high school, which was before I really got into anime. And so when I did get into anime, which was actually via like Soul Eater, which is also a good show, but not what I'm talking about, I kind of had this backlog of like things that I'd heard about for my entire life that I had, been interested in going back to. And there were some shows that I went back to that I had heard were good at the time, and I was like, oh, this isn't really for me. And then a friend of mine named Laurel recommended Tokyo Ghoul to me because it was like her favorite thing. And I was like, okay, I've heard about this. I'm going to go back to it. I didn't have super high expectations because I've been burned by something being super mainstream and then assuming that that will equal that it is very good, and then having that not be the case. And
Many times before.
Yeah.
There's going to be an anime soon on this show that's the case with me. But continue.
So anyways, that happened, and so I went back to Tokyo Ghoul, and I was like, okay, this will probably be fine. And I was really shocked by how much I enjoyed it. The basic summary of Tokyo Ghoul is that Ken Kaneki is a college student. He likes books. He doesn't go outside. His parents are dead. And it's relevant to his characterization. The dude is miserable, is the point. And so...
Small detail, parents are dead.
Yeah.
Go on.
And so he goes to this cafe, and he meets this girl named Rize, and he wants to go on a date with her because they like the same horror novelist, Sen Takatsuki. And so they go on this date, and then it turns out that she's a flesh-eating monster.
Aren't they all?
I think she kind of gave it away with the horror novel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he goes on this date with Rize, and she tries to eat him because she's like a ghoul, which are basically, they look like people, but they have this, like, they can, like, generate weapons and stuff called Kagane because they have, like, a special organ. And they have to eat people to survive. And they don't have to eat people frequently, but Rize eats people frequently. They call her, like, the binge eater for most of the show.
That's clever.
But, so Rize is about to eat Kaneki when she's suddenly crushed by a steel pole. And Kaneki, also having gotten hurt in the attack, gets in the ambulance, and they have to do an organ transplant. And so they transplant her ghoul organs into him, and so he becomes, like, a part ghoul. And so that's kind of the setup where suddenly he's undergoing this situation where he has this whole new identity that he has to take on. Mm-hmm. He has this whole new set of urges, this whole new society that he has to learn how it works. And we have to see him go through the ethical concerns of like, well, I don't really want to eat people, but I also don't want to die, but I don't want to kill people because that's also bad. And so we see this like constant dichotomy before at the end of season 1 he finally fucking figures his shit out. And a very, very well executed moments.
Comes with a dietary plan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in a certain sense he sort of does.
So true.
Yeah, but no, so that's like the setup, and I love Kaneki because again, he was just like a normal person who was thrust into being this thing that he didn't super want to be, but he takes on both identities. He gets to be a human and he gets to be a ghoul. Sui Ishida is this, like, writer who writes dialogue that is super dense, which is normally a big put-off for me. Like, a lot of Tokyo Ghoul, especially in the later bits, there's a lot of, like, debate about philosophy, right? Like, a lot of it gets into this really, really talky, like, pontificating on the concept of morals and stuff. And I mean, Kaneki, who is, I love as a main character, and I'll talk about that in, like, just a second, but Kaneki goes through, like, radical changes in his moral code like 6 or 7 different times. And so despite being a hero and always kind of like vaguely fighting for the right side, except for one point in Re where he is not, which is fun in its own way. But Kaneki has this constantly changing moral code because he's constantly having to reevaluate whether he's doing the right thing, which is what makes him so compelling to me as a protagonist. Because it's never that he's a villain. He doesn't ever descend into being truly evil. There are just moments where he's really convinced that he's on the right path, where the mirror gets held up, and he's, like, forced to reconsider, like, well, I'm not actually doing the thing that I want to be doing. I thought that I was protecting people, but I was really just kind of being an idiot. And this philosophy that I held, while it seemed good at the time, isn't actually helpful. And so the constant reevaluation was really, like, well thought out, and I really appreciated that, because a lot of the time when you have these heroes, you have them have, like, kind of a singular moral code the whole way through, which isn't an issue. I really like a lot of those characters who are like, I fight for what I believe in, and they get to, like, kind of be driven by that. I think that that's great. But getting to see that kind of inverted, where Kaneki is constantly forced to question his choices, I thought was like, made for a very compelling protagonist, and the arc that he goes through over time, specifically in Re, really endeared him to me. And so Kaneki has become kind of like a favorite character of mine, because I was just really intrigued by the direction that he went and how constantly we got to see new sides of him. And so that was part of what I really loved about Tokyo Ghoul.
And I think that makes him more relatable because, you know, like, in life, we all kind of, like, reevaluate who we are maybe every few years or every few months. And I think that's what I liked about, you know, season 1 of Tokyo Ghoul, which is all that I've seen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, while he is, like, reevaluating himself, it's like, what am I reevaluating in my life?
Yeah. Exactly, and I think, I mean, he has his first big reevaluation at the end there of season 1, which I won't give too many spoilers about, but he has, like, a pretty radical change in his personality, which ultimately winds up being his driving code for either the second half of the original manga or Rude, depending on what form of Tokyo Ghoul you choose to consume. But that winds up being a thing. Like, he kind of carries that moral code that he develops during the end of season 1 through season 2 until the end, where one of the characters is like, hey, you're being a fucking dumbass. And you've alienated yourself from a bunch of people that you love because you're holding to this philosophy that, yeah, you're protecting other people, but you can't protect other people if it's at the cost of yourself. And so we get these moments where he's like, oh, I was fighting for what I thought was right. And that character who yells at him has this moment of being like, we didn't ask you to do this. Like, we are capable of protecting ourselves. We want to help you. And yet you're trying to take this burden on for yourself because you think you're the only one who can. And so
what you're explaining about why you like it, and then also knowing that you're a huge fan of X-Men,
yeah,
I could definitely see the parallels between the two of, like, someone being able to, like, play in both worlds.
Yeah.
Of, like, I know it, but here it's, like, human and ghoul, and that's human and mutant.
It's the same basic premise where it's like, do we blend into society and try to conform to their rules? Like, one of my favorite plot points, and this is in, like, the first 2 episodes, so I don't consider it a spoiler, is that ghouls can't eat human food. Like, at all. It poisons them.
Oh.
And so they have developed this strategy of swallowing their food without chewing it so that they don't have to taste it because it tastes disgusting to them, so that they can blend in, right? Because they have to look like they're eating normal food even though it's not a thing that they can do. And so they'll often throw up the food later. And so it's this really simple thing that we're shown about ghouls really early on that tells us a lot about their world, that there are things that they have to put themselves through to appear normal. And we see a lot of hatred that's directed at ghouls from humans, and they're normally indoctrinated humans, right? Like, they aren't, like, there are these people who are usually, like, brought into this from being kids. They're like, you should be scared of ghouls. When really ghouls don't normally want to kill people either, they just want to continue being alive, and they don't have a choice. And so that's the thing that we kind of see. Like, the first ghoul that he meets was born a ghoul. She wasn't like him. And so she's like, you know, you're lucky that you got to live not like this. Right? And so, again, Tokyo Ghoul is this really morally complex story, which I didn't expect because it is so popular, and I don't normally associate, like, strict moral complexity with being, like, mass market appeal.
Yeah, something I thought was really interesting going through season 1, which is as far as I've gotten, so I can't spoil anything from season 2.
Nor should you.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really interesting watching various characters approach being a ghoul differently and how that affected their worldview, or reflected the worldview that they had previously. But yeah, that was something that kind of stuck out to me as you were talking and bringing all of this back up, because it's been a while since I watched it. But.
Yeah, are you talking about, like, the stuff with how the ghouls at Anteku get their food?
Yes, but also on even a more individual level.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spoil that.
No, I won't spoil anything, but there's another plot point about these ghouls who don't kill people but still eat. They have this different approach of, like, we don't want to kill people either. We want to just live on the bare minimum of awful things that we have to do because we don't get another choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Tokyo Ghoul. It is very good. If it's one that, like me, you heard about a lot and then you were like, and then didn't really go back to it, highly recommend giving it another shot because it really does pay off. You can watch Tokyo Ghoul on Hulu, Crunchyroll, might be it. I also, to briefly end on this, I want to talk about Toru from Tokyo Ghoul Re.
Okay.
Which he doesn't show up until way later.
But okay.
Yes. So Toru is another half ghoul who again shows up way later, who is trans, and that's like the key part of his story. And I really wasn't expecting that because, especially in anime, that's a thing that like I don't expect that to be done in any way that like acknowledges the character as trans. Like, but Toru is really interesting to me because there are a lot of things that he deals with in the story that are directly related to, like, transphobic violence and, like, sexual violence that are deeply unpleasant. But the thing that I think is interesting is that him being trans, at least up to the point that I've read, this could change, has never been called into question. Like, his status as a man has always been acknowledged by his friends, even when they find out that he's trans. And that was something I really appreciated because I wasn't, like, super expecting it. Because I was like, oh, it's just going to be another one, like, for the millionth time of character who dressed up as a boy but was secretly a girl. And so I was really pleasantly surprised. Like, one of my favorite bits is there's this other character named Yurie who, he has this bit in the manga where he kind of hates everyone and everything, so he'll often deliver a dialogue line, and there are parentheticals saying what he actually thinks. And so there's a bit where he finds out that Toru is trans, and the actual line that he delivers is like, "You're a girl," but they cut in guy in parentheticals to reflect that he still actually thinks of Toru as a man, which I thought was such a nice, like, writing touch.
That's really cute.
Yeah. And again, Toru goes through some really horrible shit, like, throughout the course of Re, but also everyone in Re goes through some really horrible shit. Nobody is having a good time in the second half of
that
Tokyo
the show's
Ghoul.
very violent.
It is very violent. Re is more violent. Like, they go from, like, fingers getting cut off in season 1 to, like, chainsaws to the head in season, like, 3 and 4. So...
You have me sold.
I'm excited
sold.
now.
I don't know, like, a lot of things you were talking about before the Toru character.
Yeah.
Already seem to be, like, a lot of things that, well, I can't speak for myself, but, like, a lot of members of the LGBTQ community, or any community that feels like they are not represented well, but I felt like from what you were describing it, I felt like there was a lot of parallels between the two, and I thought that was really interesting, just even before you talked about the Toru character, so.
Yeah.
I'll give it a
There's-
shot. It sounds like a really cool anime, and I know, again, as you said, a lot of people have talked about it, even to the point where I think even this show has a live-action movie in Japan.
I also want to say, like, to clarify my opinion, Toru is by no means perfect representation.
Oh,
A lot of the stuff that he goes through relates to him being a victim of violence in various forms, specifically gendered violence usually. Like, there's a whole arc about him getting, okay, this is a little bit...
Is this in the manga, or is
This is in both. It's just, they don't establish that he's trans, but it happens the same way for the same reasons in the show. It's just, because Re was going way too fucking fast, and it deserves to be reanimated. That's a whole other story. But, Toru goes through a lot of gender-related violence, and specifically there is a part where he is kind of forced to play the role of wife to a particularly abusive character, which reflects gendered violence that he's experienced at other points in his life. But it's obviously very difficult, like, subject matter. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect representation by any means, but I went into it thinking it was going to be a lot worse than it was.
Okay. All right. That was Tokyo Ghoul. What's
Yes.
your next choice?
Kaguya-sama. I'm going to talk about this for way less time. So I'm going to start with the pitch here because I think it will resonate with those of you in this room who have not heard of it. Kaguya-sama Love is War concerns these two characters named Miyuki and Kaguya who like each other. They are like high schoolers who have crushes on each other. But both of them
Can't
are...
relate.
So
Kidding.
they like each other, and they're both like pretty aware that the other likes them. But the thing is that...
Definitely can't relate.
But anyway, the premise is that they're both Miyuki is the president of the student council and Kaguya is the vice president, and they're both ridiculously smart. Like, Kaguya is a really smart, like, girl from a well-off family, and Miyuki is from a poor family, but he's a scholarship student to this super prestigious academy. And so it's these two very smart people, and neither one of them wants to be the one to tell the other that they like them. It's them playing romance like a chess match, right? Where they're trying to constantly adapt to the situation, and it's always really mundane things because they have this supporting cast of characters who are totally not aware of what's happening. So like they have Fujiwara, who's their secretary, who is she's smart, but she's also like a very kind of airheaded girl, and so she has 2 tickets to this movie that her parents won't let her go see that's supposed to be super romantic. And so she offers them to Kaguya and Miyuki, and they spend the whole time being like, well, if I accept the tickets, it'll look like I want to go on a date with her, and I can't do that because then she'll think that I like her, which I do, but I don't want her to know that. So
Oh my God.
it's them constantly trying to like nudge the other person. And
Oh, that feels real.
it's so fun, and I love Fujiwara. I think she's great. They have this treasurer named Ishigami who is this like long-haired like gamer dude who is super antisocial and one of the best characters that I can think of in an anime who isn't like a centered character.
Mm-hmm.
Like has this brilliant arc that like I was really taken off guard by because I thought the show was just going to be like funny romance games, but then especially in the second season, not only do they hit on some like really powerful like love story stuff between Kaguya and Miyuki that like goes beyond the comedy into like, oh no, these people like really like each other and they like have a connection, which I really appreciate when rom-coms kind of take the time out
Same.
to like show that.
Snap. Same. That's... Now I think you just sold me on that because, yeah, like, a lot of people saw me on the rom-coms because, like, well, they're both hot together.
Yeah.
I'm like, so?
No, Kaguya and Miyuki, I love because they show this incredible mental fortitude to each other. Mm-hmm. They're both ridiculous comedy idiots outside of their relationships with each other. Like, there's a particular bit in season 2 where Kaguya has to learn how to use Twitter.
Oh.
Because she doesn't know, and the president has a private account. So she's like, wait, but if I follow him, then he'll think I want to see his tweets.
No.
And it contains my favorite joke in the entire show when she's looking at like the from your contacts list and she's like, who's the anime profile picture? And her assistant is like, oh, that's just the treasurer, you can ignore him.
Did you feel seen?
Yes. But no, so I love, it's such like an exceptionally funny...
Give me a minute.
I think this will be added to, and we can cut this out because Max is currently having a laughing breakdown. Max, I think you need to see what this character looks like to get the full effect of why Joelle said that. I think that it's relevant.
You gotta send me that picture.
You thought I was joking.
I thought you were just talking like, do you feel like your character's represented?
No, it's him.
Yeah.
Spot on.
I had no idea you looked like that. Oh my God. Well, I can't, like, it's only funny because I know what you look like, but the people listening probably don't.
I can send you a photo of me to put up on the YouTube video if you want for this comparison.
Okay.
Actually, Josh.
Yeah.
Josh's profile.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fucking funny. Sorry for you listeners.
No, so anyways, it's really funny. Like a lot of the writing, because there's always in anime, in comedy anime specifically, I feel like there's sometimes this very stilted form of comedy.
Yeah.
This show makes me laugh out loud consistently. Like, the dialogue is just so punchy. Like, there's a bit where Ishigami, like, fucks up in front of the girls, and he goes up to Miyuki and he's like, I want to die, so I'm going home.
God.
Like, it's such an exceptionally funny, well-written, like,
Yeah.
all of the characters I really liked, and, like, Ishigami specifically, they play him so, like, comedy ha-ha loser in the first season, and they do something really deep with it, where we understand why he kind of plays into that persona a little in season 2, and why we learn why people look at him like that, but why he also kind of looks at himself like that. And there's, like, a lot more to it than I kind of thought that there would be, which I just really appreciated. There's not a character in the show who I feel like they don't do anything with, who's only there for a bit. Like, all of the characters who recur feel like they really find a reason for them to keep showing up, which I really appreciate that kind of philosophy to writing.
I didn't think about that. Like, yeah, in a lot of shows, it's always like, these characters are here because a lot of fans want to see that, and the writer particularly wants to see this character come back. And sometimes I have no problem with it because I really like those characters, but the way you're explaining it sounds like, oh no, they have to be there. I also think, well, I'm going to go off on a limb. This takes place in a high school.
It does.
A
prep school, but a high school regardless.
I'm also going to say, yeah, well, they're going to be there because they're going to school. So,
yeah.
But I guess what you mean by is like in that particular group.
Yeah, exactly. And there are characters who they only see in passing when it becomes relevant, but, like, they're still around.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool.
But no, I really like it, and season 3 actually starts next week, which I think makes it an appropriate time to talk about this. Both seasons are 12 episodes.
Haha, we're finally on time for something. Because our Batman review was 2 weeks after the movie came.
But no, Kaguya-sama, it made me laugh. I felt really positive emotions about the main couple, like, pretty much all positive things.
What
Did it
can
make-
you watch it on?
You can watch it on Crunchyroll, you can watch it on Hulu, you can watch it on various unseemly sites.
Did it make you believe in love again?
Well, I never didn't believe in love.
Aww.
Damn it, I was going for a joke. Alright.
Fuck your joke.
Did you just anti my fucking joke?
Alright,
Okay.
that's done with the Josh monologue.
Yeah. And now time for Joelle's first pick.
Noragami. So I am notoriously bad at summarizing things, so I am reading directly off of IMDb. It's an action, supernatural, urban fantasy anime, so if that's your thing, you should watch this. It's a minor god seeking to gain widespread worship teams up with a human girl he saved to gain fame, recognition, and at least one shrine dedicated to him.
Okay.
Yes. So, if you like characters that act a lot dumber than they actually are, yeah, you're gonna like this one.
Sounds like my life.
Relatable.
I just fail upwards, so I could totally relate to this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the two main characters are Yato and Haruhi. Yato is the minor god in question, and basically, the first episode is following Haruhi, who is a high school girl who saves someone by pushing them out of the way of a bus, and in the action, she is hit by said bus, but does not realize it, because she's still upright. It's just her soul. She looks back and sees her body lying on the ground. Anyways, and then we come back in, and she's, like, in the hospital, and we meet Yato. I think, yeah, they were actually met the first time, like, passing on the street kind of meet, you know, like the anime trope.
Just, not just anime, but yeah, okay.
I mean, yeah. And, like, looking for a cat. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, thing I love about anime is that it takes some of the most high concept stuff, and it starts by some of the most mundane shit. Like, again, like a date with Tokyo Ghoul, or just two lovers with Tokyo Ghoul. With Tokyo Ghoul. With Kaguya-sama. And in this one, it's just them trying to Find a cat.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
Haruhi was like walking with some friends, sees the poster for a missing cat, and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna start calling around for this cat and see if it'll show up," you know? And then meanwhile, Yato heard the owner's prayer that they wanted their cat back. And so he's going and like finds this cat. He's not very good at business. So he sells his services for like one coin. And that's it. And that's basically the reason it's taking him so long to get a shrine. But that's kind of spoilers.
That's fine. That's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
funny.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, yeah. He's not the best businessman, but he's going after it, you know? And then Haruhi is an interesting character, I guess, but much less interesting than some of the other characters, but I don't want to spoil too much. So, anyways, yes, that's Noragami. Super fun. There are 2 seasons. The second season does not follow Yato. It follows a different god. But that season is also really good.
Is there a specific reason why you cannot talk about why it's a different god?
You know, I think that was more an artistic decision than anything particularly awful that ended season 1.
So, okay, I guess my question is this like each season's like its own separate story?
Kind of, but they are definitely connected.
Okay, so...
Like, you come across the characters that season 2 centers around in season 1. Multiple
Oh,
times. Yes.
so it's kind of like a...
Yeah, like a torch passing.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
yeah. That sounds like a shared universe kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that sounds cool. I'm trying to think of something besides the MCU that's done that, like, on an anime level.
Yeah.
I guess... No, I got nothing.
Yeah,
Go on.
no. I think
Tokyo
it's pretty
Ghoul
interesting.
Re centers on multiple new characters. There you
Alright,
go.
I guess. Yeah.
Narnia. It's like Narnia. Passing of the torch. Anyways, and then the second one I wanted to talk about was
Ouran High School Host Club!
Which I also
Woohoo!
believe our other guest here wanted to
I
talk
have. Ouran High School Host Club was the first anime I ever saw. I was in middle school. Oh my god, yes!
When did you watch it?
Oh my god, I was like, I think I was in 6th grade, and that was, everyone was like, you need to watch this anime, and I was like, what's anime, like Pokemon or something? So then,
Of course.
about. I mean, it is, but...
yeah, but I mean, one day I
There's
sat
more.
down, and I like started watching it on Hulu, and I fell in love. Like, the music, the theme songs get
The
me
theme
for
song!
every anime, like,
It
the
slaps,
Kiss Kiss
guys.
Fall in Love, like, I sing that.
We have an
Still to this
exceptionally
day.
strong, like, not to spoil the rest of the shows here.
Don't.
I won't. What I'm gonna say is that we have a strong collection of openings.
Yeah.
Oh,
Noragami
oh, yeah.
opening.
I was gonna
Killer.
say that the Noragami opening, the first Tokyo Ghoul opening, is
Yeah.
like legendary. Ouran's opening, classic.
Yes, yes.
Iconic.
The
I've only seen one episode of Ouran because I was in an anime club in high school and we watched a bunch of different anime pilots. So I know the premise. I'm gonna still have you guys talk about it, but I vaguely remember the opening for that one. But I need to watch it again and be like,
So
kiss,
good.
kiss, fall in love.
shut up before we get copyrighted.
Anyways,
So good.
yes.
The Funimation gods are right.
It's an a cappella cover, we swear!
I mean, it was.
Got the harmonizing and everything. We were on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Anyways, so premise is, if you're looking for like lots of queer themes in an anime, definitely go for this one. The protagonist is Haruhi Fujioka, right?
Yes.
Another Haruhi.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And there was another show you might
There
be
was
going to talk
another
about
show.
that
I was
also
gonna
has a
talk
Haruhi.
about the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's a theme. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, but Haruhi is fantastic. It's basically Haruhi just wants to find a nice quiet place to study in the very opening and wanders into a
Rude.
quote unquote abandoned music room.
Yeah.
It was not abandoned. Plot twist. In fact,
Okay.
what?
No, it's just funny. Like, that's a twist. I was just like, oh, cool.
That's the point.
It's the first of many twists.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I know
Yeah.
about the one. Yeah.
Uh-huh. No, turns out this is where the host club meets. For those of you who don't know what a host club is,
Wow,
it's
Matt.
essentially... Okay.
raised
It's
my hand.
essentially, so in Ouran High School Host Club, it's a group of boys who entertains the young ladies of their high school. So it's
No
basically...
wonder I don't know it.
Well, so, but I mean, there's a, not to like cut in on this discussion, but like there's a similar thing in Japan with like hostess clubs, where it's
Yeah, yeah.
basically you pay a woman or a man, if it's a host club, to come and just drink with you and spend time with you.
Yeah.
There's like, it's the illusion of hanging out with someone who's way cooler than you are.
Right.
And it's like a pretty prominent entertainment industry. It's like, you know, guys will go out with their friends and they'll drink with hostesses.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's a little less than like strip clubs.
Yeah. And I feel like the tease of Ouran High School Host Club is that, like, there's nothing sexual or, like, physical
Yeah.
really involved. But, like,
It's an
there's
explicit rule.
Right, but it's
Yes.
consistent tease throughout the show, and I think the writers use that. Like, they consistently bring...
Consistent tease, I like that.
Yeah. Like, they bring...
Episode 8. Anyways, yeah.
They bring a lot of the characters close together in a lot of, like, the episodes.
Yeah.
And, like, they have, like, really deep conversations. Near the end of the show, there's, like, a really close scene where they're, like... Yeah, where they're, like, in the bedroom.
Yeah.
But, like, nothing happens.
That was episode 8.
Yeah, okay,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm remembering that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
now.
Uh-huh. No, that's a moment that y'all can see on your own without
But I
spoilers.
feel like it's
so
a great...
many people Googling what happens.
I mean, you'll find it if you look it up, I'm pretty sure.
You definitely will, because it is a very, without going into it, it's a very out of character moment for one of the main secondary characters. Something else that I love about this show is how it looks at itself.
Oh, yeah.
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 And how it
Like
approaches the fourth wall. Yeah.
I mean-
No, it's fantastic. Love
It's
it
really
so much. And then, like, especially one character looks at it the way that we see it, and then everybody else is like, "You're delusional. Why are you like this?" And it's just one of the best moments in the show. And me and my friends sometimes quote it. Anyways, yeah.
Do you know all the characters, like, by heart? Because I
Yes.
forgot. Yeah,
So-
you should, like, talk about all the characters.
Okay, so you meet all of them in the first episode. Therefore, this is not spoilers. There is Tamaki, who is like the
My favorite.
yeah.
I love
No, I
Thomas.
like Kiyoya as my favorite. Okay, wait.
Yes.
Yes, Kiyoya. Oh my
Okay.
god. He was, like, my first, like, anime crush. Kiyoya, there's just something so,
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
charismatic
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like he's the different one in the group. He's, like, obviously the smartest one. But there's a lot he doesn't, like, share, I feel like.
The episode with him and Kyoya, or not him and Kyoya, him and Tamaki later on,
Yeah.
Okay.
one of the best of the show.
Yeah.
All you need to know about Kyoya is that he is always playing chess. It does not matter, like, what is around him. He has this plan, and it is always going to go his way. He has contingencies for everything. Fantastic character. Love him. Quote unquote, the Shadow Prince of the host club.
I think
Yeah,
in the dub
definitely.
it's Dark Lord.
Well, it's both.
Is it both? Okay.
It's both.
Yeah.
Depending on what episode you're on. Anyways, I've watched this a few times. And then coming back to Tamaki, he's like the golden boy, the prince character, la 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 la. Basically, picture the personified golden retriever, and that is Tamaki. He is everybody's
Yeah.
favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Hard-hitting metaphors here on Million Dollar.
And then, let's see, we talked about Tamaki, Kyoya, the twins.
The twins.
I love the twins.
I love the
Twins.
twins. The twins, if I can talk about Ouran for like 1 second, the
Yeah.
twins are the source of by far my favorite joke in the entire show, which is the fact that they're constantly like flirting with each other, but the joke is that it's because the girls think that it's hot and that's the only reason they do it.
Yeah.
Is because they're trying to appeal to the immediate like in-universe female audience, which is such a good meta joke.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of really funny.
Yeah, no, and that's why whenever people are like, Ouran has incest in it, I'm like, yeah, that's the bit.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's not
That's the
incest.
joke.
The joke is that they're making fun of people who are like unironically really into that.
Yeah. But
What a weird joke, but okay.
No, it's a fantastic joke. You
Yeah,
bite your
yeah.
tongue.
it is so good. And like So it's Hikaru and Kaoru, and they are fantastic characters. And as you get further into the anime, you will actually see that they are their own characters. But in the earlier episodes, they do just seem like reflections of each other constantly. And that's all I'll say about that. Anyways, and then there is Mori, who is like the tall, dark, and handsome, the silent type, the brooding one. There isn't a ton going on, gonna be honest.
With Mori?
Well, okay, with his character, sure. But, like,
With the
moment-to-moment
gimmick.
moment thinking and the
Yes.
gimmick, there isn't much.
Probably
but
the
it'll be
most
okay.
boring of the gang
Oh,
in
yeah,
terms of
definitely.
the way
Yes.
that he tries to get like
Oh,
the
yeah,
girls.
certainly.
Yes, but I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
a lot of Mori's later stuff.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. 100%. And then, finally, there is Honey Senpai. And
Honey
you
Senpai.
cannot cut out the back half, no. Fantastic character based off, like, the,
What's that word?
what is the word?
It's-
It's not Lolita.
It's like Shota.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That.
That
Finally,
whole trope.
something I recognize.
And it's fucking Shota, Max. Come on.
I don't judge you.
The cutest thing about
yeah,
him is,
dude.
doesn't he carry around like this little
Okay,
bunny?
okay, I wanted
This
to
little
say something
bunny.
about that.
Yes.
So there's this one episode where the bunny gets replaced by.
Is that spoilers?
It gets replaced by something.
Go on, and if I deem
Okay.
it.
I have like a stuffed animal, the thing that that replaced the bunny, and it's like big.
Oh
and
my
I brought it into
goodness.
class once in high school to stand in for Hamlet.
Oh
Yes.
my
That is a
gosh.
story on its like that's its own thing,
Fantastic.
but
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Anyways, but yeah, the bunny is so
Is
cute.
it spoilers?
Personally,
Oh,
I am a
dude,
huge
so-
fan of just there is a very interesting juxtaposition in Honey's character. The one that is more obvious earlier on is his love for sweets, and it's just very good, very fitting of him, and at the same time you know that it will be his downfall. Yeah.
It really pulls out, like, the whole show, like, pulls out your anime fangirl, fanboy heartstrings. Like, if you
Yes.
want a lighthearted anime that involves no blood, no gore, not a lot of drama, but just enough to keep you interested, then Ouran High School Host Club is, like, the way to go. And it's also, like, pretty much family-friendly. That's why I watched it. So, I mean,
I don't know. Episode 8 is kind
okay, not
of...
episode
Okay, but beyond that,
like, 13 and up. Like,
yeah,
I would say
13
13
and
Yes,
up.
Yeah.
oh,
That's
for
a
sure.
good-
Like, even
yeah.
probably like 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, probably don't watch it around your parents because they'll look at you weird, but, like,
Right.
it's a good show.
They
Yeah,
are
maybe
pretty
your little
Yeah.
sibling. Like, your little
Yeah.
sibling. Show them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, it's a really good intro anime
Yeah.
for people. It's
really
very
good.
accessible.
It's
sure.
short, too.
Yeah.
It's not, like, multiple
yeah,
seasons.
it's only one season.
You'll want
um,
more, but they
yeah.
don't give you more.
well, and then
Yeah,
there's the manga, which...
Yeah, it's not that good.
Okay,
I
I,
don't-
disagree with some of the ships that become canon in the manga.
I-
Therefore,
I disagree
shipping.
with the choices they make with Haruhi at the end.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
I was, like, really personally offended by that, actually.
okay, that's fair. If you want to know what Josh is talking about, just approach him in person. It'll be shorter.
No,
we didn't talk
that's-
about Haruhi, though, because we didn't really talk about Haruhi, though.
Oh, that's true.
Well, it's hard to talk about Haruhi.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Spoilers,
Haruhi's
yeah.
defining trait is that
Yeah,
they got in on. Thank you.
I was gonna say, if you're looking for pronouns, I feel like we need to have that
yeah.
discussion.
But I'm going to skip that discussion, and the people who want to watch it can have that discussion with us later on. But they got in on scholarship because they come from a very poor family when this is a rich kid's school. And that is like half of the bit and half of the how they got into the host club is because they are now in debt to the host club.
oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So, like, yes, it is very much feeding off of all of the fanfic trope things, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Honey is also part of that joke with the twins, where
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
because he looks like a kid.
Oh.
And that's why the girls at the club want to date him, and he plays that up. And again, it's kind of the in-joke is that, like, he's doing this because you as the audience, like, the audience that he literally has, but you as the audience member are being played to.
Yeah.
By a character who's aware that they're doing it, which is, like...
Yes.
I feel like the audience is very, like, the audience is basically the girls. Like,
Yeah,
the girls in
yeah,
the
no,
audience are, like, the
100%.
same. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I felt the same way that the girls felt at the time watching it.
Yeah.
Because, like, you want,
I felt
like...
more like Haruhi personally, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
That's
I was like,
interesting.
I liked Renge. I thought she was funny.
Renge. Okay, we need to talk about Renge. Renge, if you want your very orchestrating, things need to be as they are in my head kind of...
She's like a fanfiction author.
Yeah, fanfiction author. This is your
Basically.
self-insert. This is your representation. Yeah, Renge just comes in and...
Basically, and
essentially.
like
Yes,
like a
I
fanfic
love,
author.
my
Fanfic
favorite thing
author.
about Renge is the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, she's introduced because she plays visual novels.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, she plays dating sims with hot boys, and one of the boys in the club looks vaguely like one of her anime boys.
No. Not vaguely.
Exactly.
But with a scarf.
But with this guy. But anyway, so she comes to Japan from, like, France or wherever it is that she's living, so that she can play out her visual novel in real life.
Yep.
What?
It is...
She gets to there and she's like, no, this is all wrong.
Yes, she
Let me-
frequently comments on the fetishes that the boys are playing into to try
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help them
Like I said,
play up
fourth
their
wall.
gimmick.
It's fantastic.
What the hell?
She often
Yes.
erupts through the floor.
It's some serious fourth wall breaking. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
must
It
find-
is so
definitely.
good.
And it's wild because she's not in the manga. Like, she's only in one chapter to kind of
Really?
play off Kyoya. They added her almost entirely for the show, like all of her bits. And they feel so integral to the way the show plays out that I can't imagine this story without her constantly being there.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways. But
That's
yeah,
Ouran.
that's Ouran. It's on Netflix. I think it's on Hulu. I would have to double check that. But
Definitely Netflix.
yeah, it's definitely on Netflix. And definitely some sketchy websites that you definitely should not go to stream anything. Absolutely not. That would be illegal.
Sorry. Oh, fuck.
Go ahead.
Kiss anime.
No, anime.
Yeah. What was next?
But we're going to be talking about Attack on Titan. This is pretty much anime that many people have seen, at least in the community of people who enjoy watching anime. I know Nora and Willow here really wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
I have seen everything up until probably like season 4 part 2, half of season 4 part 2, I should say.
Yeah.
So I'm not all the way caught up, but if you were to spoil anything minor in those episodes, I wouldn't really give a shit. So that's okay. But yeah, I kind of want to let you two kick this conversation off.
Woohoo!
So right now we're going to be going into a non-spoilers discussion about the show. So that's pretty much a good majority of the show up until a point that I have said to them, do not talk about. Okay.
The most comment that I will make on this portion, and then I'm actually going to go grab water, so I won't be here for like a couple minutes.
Okay.
But the most point that I want to say is that even in the early shit, the adherence to the military aesthetic, super weird. That's my time. Thank you. I'll be back.
Leaving us
Oh
with
shit,
that.
I need my wallet. Hang on.
Our producer.
Planned this out poorly. Okay.
All right, I'm going to cut that out. So, Nora, Willow, I want you guys to kick this off and basically talk about what you guys like about Attack on Titan. I'll probably chime in a bit, tell what I like about it, and I'll probably talk a little bit about some of my negatives in a bit. But I want to hear you guys. Let's go.
Okay, so at its most basic early premise, Attack on Titan is a post-apocalyptic setting where humans have been pushed to like the brink of extinction because of these giant man-eating titans that just appeared out of nowhere. Nobody really knows why they're there or what they're doing. They just eat people. So what's left of humanity has been put behind these like 3 giant walls, and that's a whole thing on its own.
Yeah.
And people who like haven't, like they're not anime watchers, they often say the Titans look like giant babies. So
Yeah.
just for a visual
Yeah,
reference.
giant
Yeah.
babies or giant naked men
With no
Or-
genitalia.
No
There's
genitalia.
no genitalia.
Yeah,
So.
so it's weird, but it from what I know is that the Titans are meant to be based off early medieval artwork that depicted hell.
Oh.
Because so if you like look at like old like misproportioned like heads of like depictions of hell, they would have like big eyes or big teeth or just weird stances. So that's what the art is mainly based off, like early.
Interesting.
See, I haven't
medieval
heard
artwork.
that.
I didn't know that.
That's at least what I've been told by certain YouTube channels. So don't go off my.
It makes
basis.
sense.
And yeah, but yeah, that's kind of like the visual. It's a really unique design.
It's like the whole thing is like they kind of look like us, but what makes them so unsettling is that they're not us,
Mm-hmm.
even though they look like us.
They
Mhm.
eat us.
It's kind of like the idea of how like zombies work.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't do zombies. Just
But you do Titans?
I do Titans. I do not do zombies.
So as long as they're like above 7 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe a little taller, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it
Because
definitely
a
is.
lot of the general aesthetic of this show is based in like German style
Yeah.
or
Like gothic. Kind
Gothic.
Yeah.
Gothic
Oh my
German
God.
Anything about art,
architecture.
disclaimer,
All
just-
connecting
it
in my
just-
brain. I had no
I
idea.
toss that out there because that's like one thing I know.
Even like okay, now this is just a thing that I have a question about because when I watched it the first time, I needed someone to explain it to me, and still no one has explained it to me. A lot of the characters in the show are named like Aaron, Armin, Levi. They're all like predominantly European to Western names. So I always have a question with the show, and in a lot of anime too that don't specifically outright say it. Are they meant to be Caucasian?
Yes.
Are they?
Because
they actually have there's a character who's literally stated to be Asian.
Asian.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But
And-
everybody's been telling me like, no, they're all Asian.
No, and in the later seasons, there's a black character too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know about that. I usually like to see anime through like a live action lens of myself to basically kind of get a good grip on what
Yeah,
they are.
yeah.
So I was just like, okay, are they Asian? Are they white? Are they? It's just a question I had.
No, I was confused about that too at first. Because I thought one of the characters, I thought Connie
Yeah.
was supposed to be black at first, just because like just because of where like his hair is shaved. They explain that like Mika. Am I
Yeah.
supposed to say?
Well, no,
is this
like-
a spoiler?
Well, it isn't a spoiler because it's I think it's stated in an early episode that
Her mom. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
her
do say that
mom's,
her mom
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
is different
And-
or different from the rest of the people.
yeah.
And
I'm
it's not
saying-
it's not a very diverse like
no
area
No.
because
No.
like Mikasa is essentially like one of the last Asians in this
that's
area.
like the whole point of her
Yeah.
character. Is
And
that
probably, I know I'm jumping the shark a bit here, but probably one of my favorite characters on the show. Just
Oh yeah, everyone's. Well, that and Levi.
well, in the first season, I should say, he wasn't my particular favorite character because I was just very much like, I don't know how I feel about a character that does certain things that he does,
Yeah.
but the more like you get to know him, I was like, oh no, I understand why people really like this character. Where like anytime he's in a room, you know that okay, things are kind of safe.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah,
throughout
that's a
most
good
of the
feeling.
show, you have this feeling of like anyone
Danger,
can die
right?
at any minute. Like, and that the
Literally.
show literally feeds off that fact
Yeah.
of like, hey, you like that character? Too bad. No,
Right.
dead.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Attack on Titan is literally just, I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but like introducing characters and then like, oh, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Levi is like the main reason people like him is because of like that one scene, I think in season 3, where like they're all cleaning the house. And that's like everyone's like favorite meme of Levi. Like he's
Oh,
like
yeah.
wearing like an apron and like
yeah.
focused
Well, yeah,
on like
he's a
cleaning
very
and, like,
quirky character
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And even in the dub and the sub, which I
Yeah.
can't believe we didn't talk about that in this episode, but still, I like a lot of. I think the dub is a really good dub because I think a lot of the actors really bring it in the dub. I just can't judge it really for the Japanese voice actors because it's just not my language, so I don't know if it's like they're doing a good job. But
Yeah.
I still really like the sub, and I do think for the most part they are doing a really good job. There's no performance that feels very like that guy didn't need to do that. But like I'll say this, I love the dub because there's one particular character, and I'm not going to go into full details about why I love this character, but Erwin Smith
Yeah.
is probably my favorite, like, military general character
I love
in
him.
anything.
Oh yeah.
Like, he is the kind of character where it's just like, I understand everything that he is doing,
Yeah.
and and if I were on that battlefield, I would die for that man.
Yes.
He's a man
Yes.
with-
He's all about the mission,
Oh yeah.
and he knows that he'll have to do the sacrifice play at any moment.
He
and
has.
just for the best possible outcome for the overall picture.
Yeah. He has some
yeah.
pretty good monologues too. And,
Oh
I feel
my
like
God, yes.
deep conversations with people, and like
Yeah.
a lot of characters in Attack on Titan don't have that.
Yeah.
And like that's what I feel like
Uh-huh.
connects the audience
Mhm.
to Erwin Smith. Unlike like
Yes.
Pixis, like I didn't really like him that much, like Commander or General Pixis or whatever.
The
and, like,
old guy in the
yeah.
beginning? Yeah.
There's, like-
Commander Pixis is like an old, like one of the old timer people who's been here for all this time, and he's like this fun, sometimes drunk, kind of like.
Your drunk uncle that kind of
Yes!
pops up during Thanksgiving.
Wait, is this Pixis?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like Pixis.
Yeah.
He's a really
Well-
cool character, but like there are some moments where you're like,
Ugh.
is he wanting like a girl to eat him alive? There's
There's
a lot of like.
about Pixis actually.
Yeah, Pixis is one of the characters who has like weird Isayama background attached to him.
Yeah.
Because-
Pixis is a very messy character.
Yeah, well, because
Really?
Isayama went on record being like, yeah, Dot Pixis, the wily, fun general, was inspired by this general in the Japanese army, who definitely committed a ton of war crimes in Korea.
Yeah, I
And
remember there
where
was
he
a
was
whole
like-
internet flame war about that.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, well, Isayama
I
got
had no
flamed a
idea.
lot for all of his weird takes, but like this one specifically,
Yeah.
because a lot of Korean people were like, hey, that dude took sex slaves. Maybe don't base your fun character on that?
Right.
Yeah, so Pixis
I didn't
is
know
very
that.
I didn't know that, but now thinking about that particular character, it's not too far out of it because I don't think he has sex slaves, and I can't believe I had to say that. But
Not in the anime, no.
no, not in the
Right?
anime. You know what he is? The drunk uncle thing is so right because he's the type of person where if a girl comes by, he would totally smack her ass.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, that's what I get from him. In the
That's
show.
not at least what
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
from
yeah.
him.
Gross.
Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
No, I'm just commenting.
It's gross, yeah, but he is that particular character, and even like a lot of the, at least from what I've known in the anime, is like a lot of the female characters like stand a good an extra 2 feet back from him just to be like, okay, watch it, old man. Now I noticed that from most of our discussion, we're talking a lot about side characters, so I kind of. But here's my problem with the show, and this is my non-spoiler. I'm not going to say all the reasons why, but I just do not like the main character of the show. I think every other character in this show is so fascinating, so rich, so deep. I just can't fucking stand Aaron. I never liked him. He only has very fleeting moments throughout the entire show
Yeah.
where I thought, that was pretty cool. Like, I was like, that was pretty cool, that was pretty heroic. That's what I really like about that character. Otherwise, he runs into this thing where it's this chosen one kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all the details about why he's a quote-unquote chosen one, but it's like every other character who has all the reasons not to, they always have to save this fucker. And he just constantly puts himself into this dumbass, just I don't know, he just got really annoying because he was all about, like, I want to kill all the Titans.
Yeah.
But he would always, it's like, oh yeah, cool, you want to be like this big thing, big shit, but it's like, he does, at least for the parts that I want to talk about until we get into spoilers, he is all talk, no show. For most of it. Because a lot of the things that he has to is like, hey, we need you to move this rock. And it takes like, so many people fucking die
Right.
because he doesn't know how to fucking control it. And I know that's the whole point of like,
Yeah.
he needs to learn how to do it. But it was just this thing where it's like, I hate this character.
Yeah. Maybe that's
'Cause-
why we're not like talking about him.
Yeah, I
think-
just don't like it.
Well,
Well,
I
I'm
think-
talking about Aaron now. But
Yeah,
I just don't
yeah.
like the main character of the show.
Again,
and I
without-
know I'm going to get a lot of quote-unquote
Say the word.
Jaegerists.
Yeah!
From the internet Jaegerists are gonna be on my ass. And I don't care. Fuck off. But,
So I wanted to say, because I think this is an interesting thing with kind of all art, but specifically the Attack on Titan having the issue that it does. And I'm going to say this in the most neutral way possible. The amount of things that people had to criticize about the show significantly increased past the point where we're specifically mentioning plot elements.
Yeah.
yes. That's
And
the thing
so-
where it's like, I think, I really like season 2. It's not my favorite season, but there's a lot of really interesting character stuff that goes down in season 2. Where
Season 3 sucked. To me. It was the worst
part
season.
1 or part 2?
There's 2 parts of season 3?
Yeah,
I don't know. I watched it in a whole. Like, I didn't know it was
Oh,
2 different parts.
okay. The second part of season 3 is my favorite because, again, this is kind of when the show is at a good pace and it's like we are moving through the
Right.
story
Yeah.
episode by episode and not taking our time to like
Do stupid
just
stuff.
do random stuff and just have my big problem with the show also is its pacing.
Yeah.
At some moments where
Oh,
it
yeah.
feels like, okay, we just wasted an entire episode on just another plan.
Right.
When I feel like we could have, I feel like the plan that they came to could have been explained relatively quickly in, like, some episodes just feel like you just needed that information and that was it about this
Yeah.
episode.
And then, like, some of the plans just don't even work.
Well, I
And
like
it's like, what did I
that.
watch this for?
I think that's a cool thing because it shows, like, the quote-unquote realism of this world where it's like, not everything goes the way you want it to, but it's cool to replan.
That's the sandwich.
Yes, Josh?
Listening to you guys talk about this is fascinating to me because all of these talking points remind me of another show, which is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's a very fair conclusion.
You know what? I do think if you were to compare this to a live-action show, it is like Game of Thrones.
And so, but what's interesting to me is it's right down to this show having its own version of the fucking bells from Game of Thrones. Where there's a big thing that happens towards the end that kills any reason to rewatch it knowing where it's going.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Are we saying in season 4?
Yes.
Attack on Titan? Yeah.
Yeah, specifically, someone pointed this out. It's like 5 chapters apart in the manga where Eren says something pre-time skip and then directly contradicts it post-time skip.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't... Alright, well, is there any other non-spoiler thing that we could talk about? Oh, I want to talk about the music of this show real quick.
Oh
The
my
music
god!
fucking slaps.
I listened to that. Like, I listened to the soundtrack
Alright.
just by itself.
Yeah.
I do
Amazing.
too.
Sorry.
I do too.
It is some of the best music I've heard.
Yes.
Question, at least for the people who have listened to many of the openings, what's your favorite opening?
Sasageo,
Well, that one
Opening
and,
2. Okay.
Yeah.
the not the Red Swan one. I think I come to a disagreement with a lot of people, but Red Swan is actually my least favorite opening.
Is that...
Which one is that?
It's the kind of slower one.
Oh, is that
It
season
starts
2?
off with the piano.
I hate
This
that one.
season
It's
2 or
right after
season 3?
Sasageo.
Yeah, like, yeah, I remember that.
Oh.
It's not my
okay.
favorite. Like, people I've talked to really like it, and I can get why they like it. Like,
Yeah.
I can get behind the lyrics and shit. It just didn't really feel like it fit with the
No,
show,
it
and I
didn't.
was like,
Yeah.
The visuals weren't good either.
no.
Like, it was
and
just
it
random
was like,
pictures.
I was just kind of like, I think I'm watching a completely different show. Like, did I click onto some fan-made opening? I'm kind of scared now. But then, it picks up with that opening right after Red Swan, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Red Swan, is that the one in season 3, part 1?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay,
The whole
yeah.
season 3 part 1 is just trash.
It's a
Alright,
lot.
I wouldn't say it's trash, because there are some...
There's some good parts.
There's
It's
some,
just-
especially with, that's where I think I really got into the Levi character.
Seriously.
Also, I just want to say, okay, yeah, my favorite opening, because, God, we have to go back to that, has to be opening 1 and the recent opening.
Oh,
the
probably,
recent-
yeah.
I, interestingly, again, have not really gotten into AOT, like, as a show. I really like the band that did that opening.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god,
listen-
so
Listen to
good.
Their
Sim-
their other songs, they
Yeah.
really slap.
They
I-
popped
Fucking, yeah.
Yeah,
Baseball
they did
Bat is a
their
great
thing.
song. Fucking Devil in Your Heart is a...
Devil in
yeah.
Your Heart. I like, I think
Yeah,
it's
that
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's a great song.
I've been listening to that on repeat.
Yeah,
I'll have
that
to-
band is super good, and so when I... But, yeah, Sim is a really cool band, and so I saw they were doing the AOT opening. And I think they were a little misused, because they have all these songs that are super, like, upbeat and intense, and they did, like, a really slow opening for Attack on Titan.
It's, their songs
That's
are
slow?
really good.
Yeah, compared to
the
the other
other
songs
stuff,
that they
Oh,
make.
okay.
The other songs are like
Yeah.
constantly that. Rumbling is more
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say Devil in Your Heart changes tempo like six
times.
times.
Yeah, like that song just you
Yes.
hit the ground running. Like
Okay.
I've seen like fan-made OPs using that song.
yeah, it is a really good song.
Yeah.
And the closing is pretty good too.
The
Season 4?
closings are pretty good.
Not my favorite.
Season
though.
4?
I never really
almost
had.
cried.
The second closing for
Okay.
season 4 is
Yeah, the second
it's
one, not
a
the first one.
It's
The
a
second.
straight banger. The second one's a little slow. I enjoy it when I get into that mood where I can just kind of sit down and chill and listen to it.
Listen to the whole thing,
Yeah, it's
like not the edited. The art style.
the
Yes,
art style.
Oh.
Art style
Yes, we have to talk about the animation.
changes extremely, like from season 1.
Mhm.
I honestly think it's a lot better. It's a lot more detailed now. Like when I first saw it, I hated it. I was like, ew, this is like not.
It's shiny.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about like the animation studio changes between?
I was gonna ask about this as like a non-animated version of it. Like I haven't engaged with any of the
Oh.
fight scenes. I'm curious how
Ooh.
the shift from whoever was doing it before to Mappa
Okay,
So-
changed it.
Okay, so I actually have an interesting fact about that. The studio that did it before Mappa, Wit, was created specifically for Attack on Titan.
Oh.
It was
That'll happen. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So then
okay.
when it got transferred over to Mappa, it's obviously
Yeah, I'll say this. I wasn't a huge fan of like the overly thick black outlines on some of the characters, just because I thought
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was just a weird
a little
thing.
bit
It felt it very much felt like a Sharpie.
Yeah. Well,
But-
there are ways to do that well. I mean, Demon Slayer does that.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
Demon
haven't.
Slayer is fucking beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a gorgeously animated show, but it also does that. So I think there are ways to do it well. It was probably just like a getting.
It just felt
adjusted.
weird because of like at some moments it would be really thin lines and then other moments it would be
Yeah.
really thick, as you said,
And
Sharpie.
Some stuff was like detailed that didn't need to be
Uh-huh.
detailed. Like
Yeah.
some of the characters, like I'm speaking specifically of female characters, their lips were like lips. They were
Yeah.
lips. Like you can see them like gleam
Oh,
with
Yeah,
like sun
yeah.
direction, where there was obviously no,
no sun.
There was like just none of that with the male characters. It's just a straight line.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. But otherwise, I think the animation, like, you could definitely see when they're going to spend their animation budget in certain moments because it'll go from like a really still scene to like,
Yeah.
holy shit, there's so much shit going on the
See, I was
screen.
talking with somebody about that, about the recent episodes, and I was like, that's why it's almost like a bottle episode.
Yeah,
And then
there-
the most recent episode, it's just
it's gonna be a lot of really cool things. Speaking of the ODM gear and the animation, when you have these characters just swinging around, it is probably some of my favorite animation in the show. Especially in
That's really
there's a
good.
part in season 3, part 1, where it is probably some of the best, like one-shot animated sequence. I say one-shot as it's one direct camera
It's-
movement
Oh yeah.
following a particular character, swinging throughout a city, trying to dodge a bunch of different things. I'm not going to say what, but it's so well done, so well. It's weird because everything in this show, even though it's animated, it feels choreographed. in a
Well, I mean,
really cool way.
animation can be choreographed.
yeah.
But like even like the fights with particular titans, because in this show you come to find out that there are people who could transform into titans, and there are some pretty cool fights regarding that because it kind of goes off on that like original Godzilla Toho idea of like giant monsters fighting each other. It's just more like the Gundam style of there's someone inside. So it's kind of like this idea of flesh mechs,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Corridor Digital says. But like, I like the idea of flesh mechs because yeah, it is pretty much Gundam but with giant fleshy suits.
And again, like as someone who primarily reads manga, like I don't have the attention span for shows, so sometimes I'll just like put my headphones in, not have any sound on, and just like read a thing. And that's usually how I experience these stories. One thing that I will say about Isayama, I don't particularly love the like gothic German thing, but that's like a taste thing, obviously. That's like it just the look doesn't do it for me.
It's definitely a really interesting take, just because I don't see a lot of it in some certain things.
No,
But-
that's fair. I just don't like the way he draws faces. Is primarily it.
That's interesting.
I haven't heard that because I have no problem with the character designs.
That's fair. I do, and that's like a totally a taste thing. I
think
just
I'll say this: there are some moments with the syndrome of same face syndrome, especially when you get into art where a particular style can only stretch on how an average face looks, and there's a lot of moments where it's like, okay, who's this character? If it weren't for the hairstyle, you would not know.
Oh, yeah. I
You
have
would
that
not
issue.
know.
But yeah, I mean, to me, like, the art style, it's like a touch, like, over-detailed, which just, like, again, totally a taste thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, a lot of the manga that I like has kind of more of a sketchy kind of vibe that doesn't go into as many details as it does, like, try to do interesting things with shading and colors and, like, designs and stuff like that. Soul Eater is a good example of, like, they don't do a lot of detailing, but all of the characters look really distinct and they have these interesting designs. And Attack on Titan just doesn't do it for me art style wise, which is, I'm getting to a positive here. I just needed to clarify, I needed to qualify why I was saying that, because if I wanted to say something positive about Isayama as an artist, the things that he does with scale in terms of manga art, super impressive.
Yeah.
And that, like, as someone who reads a lot of, like, shonen, like, battle manga, a lot of the time when you have those massive fights, it feels like there's a little bit of that perspective that does get lost, where it's like people are getting punched through buildings and shit, and I just can't take that seriously. But, like, yeah. But it's like, it's almost a little Shadow of the Colossus, and how, like, how big these things are, and how that really comes across in a way that I didn't.
Especially when you get into the particular Titan called the Colossal Titan.
But the point being, I think Isayama as a manga artist captures that sense of, like, no, this is a gigantic fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a strength that it has, because there's a lot of horror to be derived from that.
And the music, too. Like, the music goes along really well
The
with this.
music really adds to
It's
it.
awesome, yeah.
It has an absolutely stellar soundtrack.
I'm a big fan of, there's one in the first season called The Reluctant Hero. And there's also one just simply titled ODM Gear. That's my favorite to listen to. But go on.
God, what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I don't have a
It's
favorite.
hard.
Alright, well...
I guess we should get into spoilers, because we've been talking about AOT for 40 fucking minutes already.
I kind of expected us to talk about this one for a long time, so...
Yeah.
It's a long anime, and it's a good one. It's, like, really popular. So
Yeah,
really
it is
popular.
very popular. And I will admit, there's, like, a little bit of bittersweetness, because I hear about all of this, like, amazing animation that AOT got, and I think about the fact that they didn't give the Tokyo Ghoul people any money past the first season. So...
Well, I think it's also, like... It's kind of like the thing here where it's like, hey, this show got a lot of traction really quick for, like, hey, a lot of people liked it, so...
I mean, Tokyo Ghoul did as well, is the
I
thing.
know.
The studio was just cheap as hell.
Okay,
Spoilers.
so with spoilers,
Spoilers.
we're going to get into spoilers, so if you have not seen Attack on Titan and do wish to see it, please leave now, because we're going to be talking about a lot of things that you probably don't want to hear. Also, if you just don't care, keep listening. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Attack on Titan spoilers.
Everyone dies.
No.
Everybody.
No.
No.
Isayama hates everybody.
He did say he wanted to make his readers cry.
Well,
I don't think that's what he meant.
That's
That's
definitely
not
not what I meant.
But,
I
like,
was more referring to the
to
several real, like,
yeah.
ethnic groups
Yeah,
that are,
yeah.
like, actively antagonized. There's so much. I was reading about it earlier, and I'm like, wow, there are a lot of different ways that this story is just, like, weird as hell.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me that these characters were forced into an island as punishment, and they
Yeah.
aren't allowed to leave, and then they want to go back and reconquer. And I'm like, I wonder what nation that could possibly be
Yes.
alluding to that Isayama has national relationships with.
It is so. And if that wasn't subtle enough, just look at some of the character designs for the Marleyan people.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wait,
I mean, the
design of
fucking, hold on, the fucking
Marley-
armbands.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, wait. We gotta explain that.
we just jumped right in. With
In
that.
case this is your first time hearing about Attack on Titan, the plot is that the Titans are Jewish people. That is the twist.
It's
Yeah.
in not Josh language. It's basically revealed.
Not in harsh stereotypes.
Okay, but I
Yeah,
was
I know,
not
I
the
know,
one
I
who
know.
invoked the harsh
I know, I know.
stereotypes here.
It's
Let's
really
be
obvious
clear.
with the armbands.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
And the
there's a
season
lot.
4 opening, like the first opening, it's like with the
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so what it is that throughout this entire, for the first 3 seasons, you are told, like, yes, Titans come here to us. We don't know where they exactly come from. We kind of get pieces about, like, okay, so they are us, just transformed. But where do they get transformed from?
Oh, and then
I-
there's the bit where it's like, we're the last of humanity. There's
We're the last
nobody
of
else.
humanity. They at least think they're the last of humanity. There turns out to be a couple Titan shifters who were undercover. And
Never given
we-
any answers.
Oh my
for
god,
certain
we didn't even
ones.
get to talk about Reiner, who's my favorite character. Besides the point, there's 2, and there's a bunch of people trying to who...
There's three.
Three.
Yeah, I was
There's
thinking there's
There's
three.
three. Four. Technically four.
Berthold or whatever his name
There's
is.
a bunch
Reiner and
of-
Annie.
Annie, Reiner.
Zeke.
Technically Zeke, but like
He's not on the island.
undercover. He's just monkey.
Yes. So they came here, at least Reiner, who is the armor titan, who is a titan that has like armor plating on him, bony armor plating.
Full disclosure, he's my favorite Titan design.
Me too.
His design is my favorite.
They and his friend
Bertolt.
who is the Colossal Titan, which I do like that they kind of make him look like the Colossal Titan because he's the tallest member of the group, and also he's very lanky. So I thought that was a really cool design choice. They were the ones that broke down the wall and pretty much, well,
They
I
murdered.
can't say they're the ones that started Eren on this journey because once we get
They
into that
did.
bullshit...
Because the rock landed on Aaron's mom, right?
The house
On the house.
the house that landed on the mom.
So that was their
landed on
fault.
the rock.
I know, but if we're going into what happens in Season 4, Part 2, which
It's
is a bunch of time
technically-
travel stuff,
Oh,
That's
yes.
a whole
yeah,
other
there's a
that
whole...
I did not see coming.
Again, it's the fucking bells. It's like it's like going in this super weird direction, and without spoiling, because I know the ending of the manga, it's not as satisfying.
It is very not satisfying. I also know
Don't
the ending
spoil.
of the
I'm
Don't
not
spoil.
gonna.
I've not
I'm not
seen
gonna
it.
say any details.
We
other
can say
than,
spoilers up to the point in the anime. because
Yes.
This is
Again-
anime April, not manga May.
I know. I'm not intending to spoil the anime at all because I don't think that would be fun, and I think people should draw their own conclusions or
Yes,
anything like that.
Exactly.
But knowing the context of the ending, found it to be okay. It's full mask off at that point. With what Isayama believes.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's like
Okay, so going back to, yes, Titan Shifters came here, broke down the wall, started our characters, Eren, Armin, Mikasa, who was the Asian girl that we were talking about earlier.
Also a weird, racial,
Yeah.
having the one Japanese girl be, the object of beauty. Right. But I mean, in terms of what the narrative,
Yeah.
pushes
yeah,
with Mikasa,
yeah.
it's
that.
again, knowing that Isayama is, a weird and, a Japanese nationalist, it really recontextualizes the whole thing with Mikasa being, that. And that's one of many weird things that you will find in Isayama's ride into right-wing philosophy
It is,
as the story
it's
goes
a
on.
ride.
Speaking of which, as I was going to go say, is that through our character's journey, they eventually come back to their hometown, reclaim it from the two Titan Shifters, and we find out that, no, we are not the last of humanity. We have just been stuck on this island, pretty much forced by the outside world, and that there is more people out there, and there's this particular group of people called the Marlians who have subjugated us and basically treated us like second-class citizens, and not even...
Worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
It is from aesthetic, the whole German aesthetic thing has been intentional because the Marlians are pretty much Nazis.
Okay, pretty much is a stretch. They are Nazis.
They are not.
They even
It's
have,
it's barely even they barely bothered changing the name, right? It's just
Okay, yeah. I'm saying pretty much because I'm trying not to.
I mean,
Yeah,
even
you're
in
right.
the first season, in the first part of season 4, the opening, it shows a lot of it reminded me of World War II videos.
Videos.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, because
like
it's
that
also-
one particular scene with the soldiers.
Yeah, when they're marching, it's just, and they have the armbands, kind
And
of
they
like how
have
they
the
did in World
blimp.
War II. And the
Yeah, they got
blimp!
Zeppelins.
they got
like,
the fucking
Everything is exactly the
Yeah.
I
same.
don't know what
Yeah, they got Zeppelins. They have better technology, and even down to the way that actually the people that we've been following have technically been a group of people called Eldian, who are the only people that can transform into Titans because of their blood. And
you should look up the term blood libel, Max, because that's what that is. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Blood libel is
Thank
basically
you, Willow.
it's
What?
no
don't
problem.
follow.
So blood libel is basically this really old, really bigoted belief that Jewish people perform magical rituals and eat children and because they have special blood.
Oh.
I think it's briefly
So
actually discussed in
when we
Jojo
think
Rabbit.
about the fact that the Titans have magical powers and eat children because of a power that's passed down in their blood,
It turns them into monsters.
and turns them into
Literal
monsters with exaggerated
God.
facial features.
It gets
Yeah, no, I really wasn't
Getting
kidding
deeper
when
than
I'm
I thought it was.
yeah, no, Attack on Titan is really overtly
Yeah.
anti-Semitic. Like, it just...
I know, but it's just...
But
It's such a weird change from like going from, oh yeah, this show's really good.
Right,
to,
so we're all like, well,
fucking Nazis,
Show.
anti-Semitism.
Well, this is what I said. I said this before we started recording, but I'll echo it now. It is impossible to meaningfully criticize Attack on Titan if you're not talking about the stuff that happens post-basement. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
like... Because for the first part, they're withholding so much information that it's like, I don't know if this is shitty or not.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it was probably the most shitty it was possible for it to be.
Yeah, it
It
really
literally-
just.
Yeah.
It's literally two different shows combined into one. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'll say this. It being two different shows, I think, taking all of that, what we have said, it does a really good job of showing, oh no, like, this makes sense on how it came here. It's not just like here's the twist, and if you look back on everything, it doesn't make any sense. But I'll say this, it's well written enough to be like, oh no, he set it up with these little clues throughout the entire show, and if you go back and watch it, it's a completely different rewatch, especially with the information that we now have
yeah,
with Josh.
especially,
Yeah. Where it's like, it's just hard for me to give Isayama credit because all of this is so rooted in, like, I cannot believe that he wrote his Jewish allegory to have magic blood and not have known what he was doing. Like, that feels, like, so specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Especially now that I think about that one particular Titan with, like, I think they called it the quote-unquote gluttonous Titan with the giant nose.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, it's not really an oops, it's like blatant bigotry.
We're gonna all go home now and burn our Attack on Titan t-shirts and, like, throw everything away.
I don't think
Yeah.
burning books is a good idea.
Not books! Oh my god!
Perfect irony.
Well, and then, okay, you were talking, going on the Nazi route, the obvious Nazi route, you were talking about Erwin Smith. Erwin Smith is modeled after a Nazi general.
Fuck!
He is. Erwin, literal name, Erwin
I'm not
Rommel or
gonna
something
win.
like that.
This is totally...
He led a
Yes.
campaign in
Different.
Africa, I believe.
Yeah,
That
it's
was-
Oh,
fucking...
no.
Again,
Conversation
and it's
changed.
wild when you think about the fact that, like, Isayama doesn't think Japan committed war crimes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, straight up went on Twitter like, oh yeah, the Nanjing Massacre
It's...
did not happen. That's a real thing that he has publicly admitted to believing. And a bunch of Korean people were really not happy about that.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Imagine.
No, so and a lot of Attack on Titan fans were weird about this because he got death threats because he, like, yeah, that's going to happen when you say something like that. And a bunch of Attack on Titan fans were like, well, he just has an opinion.
Oh my gosh.
They literally indoctrinate children into their military.
Yeah.
They
They
Well, I mean,
both
that's
Marley and the people on the island.
I'll say this.
Well, yeah,
The characters are 13 on the
Again.
island when they join the military.
Fucking, what's her, Gabby is like a Hitler youth, right?
She's like 12 or something.
she's
Gabby-
like
okay.
14.
Gabby
That's
is yeah,
true.
Gabby is very much an allegory metaphor for like Hitler youth type kids. I will say I did not like Gabby in the beginning, but the more she realized the errors of her ways,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's possible to be sympathetic to kids who are indoctrinated into bad shit. That is not their fault.
But I
Yeah.
hated
But-
her because she killed
Yeah.
Sasha.
We're in the
Yeah.
spoiler
We're in the
section.
spoiler, we
We're-
Yes.
Spoiler section.
Right,
Her,
again,
he's the
and it
demon.
was insane as a writing decision to introduce a character, make her super racist, and then have her kill someone that everyone liked.
You know what? I'll say this. It's a ballsy writing choice, but I think it worked out in my opinion.
Killing Sasha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a moment in a recent episode that really like made that work for me where I was just like, oh fuck, that was actually kind of clever. Because yes, political opinions aside,
I mean,
no, I hit like, let me finish, damn it. I think it's a really well written show that shows like there are no good guys in this show when you really think about it. Even our like main core group of like the people we've been following throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
Again, another really one of my favorite characters of mine is Jean. He's just like at a point where he's just like, look, whatever I do, it's not going to be the right thing, but at least I'm going to make a decision. And
Right,
that's why
yeah.
and that's why he's my favorite character. Also, he's the only character that sees through Aaron's shit and be like, why are we protecting this asshole?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I liked him too, because everybody's like, oh, he's a horse-faced character. I was like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, since day one though, like he's been consistent.
He
throughout this
starts
whole-
off as this bully character, but the more the show goes on, he just becomes my favorite character because he's the bully character, but to a character that I just don't like. So it's kind of nice to see someone just call out him.
What
Yeah,
about-
just like
shit.
dunk on him.
What about like Mikasa and Armin? Because we haven't really talked about them.
Okay, so in between, Mikasa is a really interesting character. I do think going on the whole idea of what you were scarily getting into is like she's the like a model of attraction for a Japanese woman is that you also find out that she is so loyal to Eren. So that's where I was like, you are
And wow, there are some
dangerously-
stereotypes there.
There's some dangerous areas where you're getting into that, but
I mean, it's not dangerous because it's not my writing decision,
That's
right?
true.
Like, it's
That's
Isayama's.
But yeah, those aside, I think she's a badass character that, like, I could see why, like, so many people love her. She was my
Yeah.
favorite character for the first season because at the time, I found the loyalty to be a really cool, friendly thing where she's like, I just want to see my friends survive.
Yeah. Or
But-
brother in a way, like adopted brother.
Yeah, or like my
I
adopted
like
brother.
What they did with the relationship there.
Oh yeah, I don't
Adopted
like.
sibling because it hits on a personal note because I'm adopted. So anytime I see that in media, I'm like, oof.
Okay,
It's
well,
it's a big oof for me.
yeah,
It's always
I
a
could
big oof
see
for
that
me.
being a big oof, but like, I thought their brother-sister relationship was really cool, and it showed like, oh no, the sister's more badass than the actual brother.
Yeah, that
And
was
she
super
has
cool.
my favorite moment where she's like, it's a moment where like they're guarded by something, and you just see her eyes look through the, like the little peephole, and you're like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, she fucking means it. She's scary. The thing I don't like about Mikasa, it's nothing on the character. It's what they do with the character that goes into a lot of the, again, problems of like blood.
Isayama's weird ass fucking political philosophy leaking in.
I like it when character decisions imply like, no, I'm going to protect my brother because he's my brother, not because of a particular reason why they explain it, which I've seen a friend of mine explain it to death of what it means, but to this day, I hate it.
I liked
I hate it.
my
It's the
favorite
dumbest.
Mikasa relationship with Eren is actually like the very first episode.
Okay.
Because I don't know why, but she just doesn't really seem to take his shit. She literally like tosses him against the wall when he starts acting like a little bitch and getting mad about how the fact he like this 10-year-old boy cannot take on 3 full-grown men, and is like, you need to stop being such a dumbass. Think.
Yeah.
Use
I
your
like
brain.
that Mikasa, which just appeared for like a couple chapters, one chapter. I don't remember how much, and then it got completely overwritten with gotta go save Eren, gotta go save Eren, and I was just like,
Yeah, edit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like the character, and I'm just upset with at least what I've seen so far. I don't like the route that they're taking that character. However, I do like the route that they're taking the other main character of Armin. I really like the direction that character has been
Oh
going
yeah, his
on.
character
At least from
development
what I've
is really,
seen.
really strong.
Because he starts off at this really, really wimpy kid. He is the Ron Weasley of the group. If
I
we're
would-
doing like a Harry Potter comparison, because it is like 3 main characters,
Yeah.
2 boys, 1 girl.
Written by a shit person.
there's a pattern here. There's a pattern here. We're gonna do a whole episode on that. I think.
It's all lining
We're
up.
connecting the dots. We have connected the dots.
God damn, I didn't think about that.
I would not have chosen Armin though over Erwin. Like I just don't like how that all played out, and he ended up eating.
I think it was the only
Erwin.
way you could have actually moved the plot.
Yeah, but I hate
because,
that.
Like,
It's one of those one time in this show where I really think that the plot took over actual realism.
Yeah.
Because in reality, no, you
you would choose your
you
Erwin,
choose that particular
regardless of
character.
if 2 15-year-olds were
Yeah.
yelling at you to save their friends.
I also understand Erwin in that scenario where he's just like, look. Well, here's the reason why I agree with the situation of why Armin was chosen, is because all of Erwin's plans to this point have gotten many people killed,
That's true.
and all of Armin's plans have
Save people.
have saved people and have successfully gotten the mission done.
That's
So
true.
he's just like, look, he may not show it right now, but Armin has great potential for us. And
I also think it's like a weird kind of changing of there's this like
it's a,
small theme, and I don't know if it gets expanded upon in the anime as much as it did in manga, but there's a small theme of regime change.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah,
the passing of the
small
torch.
thing.
Small. I'm
The
careful
manga
here.
or the anime in which the characters stage a coup has a small theme.
There's a
of
small,
regime
tiny
change.
theme. But I think that was part of that overarching theme of times are changing. We need a different leader who isn't going to constantly getting people killed.
Yeah.
We
That's
need a
very
leader
true.
that's plans are more focused on saving people.
Which is funny because then they start listening to
Listening to
Zeke at the end.
Oh, people.
Because it's like at first in the whole story, like everyone's dying. Like it's
Your
kind of like
character- Your
sacrifice.
favorite character was not safe.
Yeah, it's like sacrifice the people for this cause, and I feel like now that since you say that, I'm like realizing
'Cause
even in
that's
season
Armin's
4,
whole thing. Like
how many people can we save? Like how many of the main characters can we save?
He's focused on the mission, but he's trying to figure out the route of like saving all your chess pieces, because Erwin was like so goal driven. That's what I loved about that character. He's like, I am driven on a particular goal. He understands the weight of his actions.
Right.
Like there's literally one of my favorite shots in any anime is just him on a metaphorical pile of all the dead soldiers that he is.
Oh my god,
That-
that
you know-
one got me.
It is one of my favorite shots. That's what I just loved about that character, because he wears his guilt on his shoulder. He knows that, yes, all my plans have been successful, but at what cost?
Right.
Like, we
Oh my
barely
God.
have any scouts left. We have to ask other regiments for people to be
Yeah.
who are ballsy enough to come do this dangerous-ass suicide mission. And almost all of his plans end up with, like, maybe at most 20 to 10 people surviving.
And I like that about like the earlier Attack on Titan
Mm-hmm.
seasons before the whole like Marleyan, Eldian thing. I feel like every important part of like each episode was relating to just like the human condition.
Yeah.
Like anyone could relate to it. Like with Mikasa protecting Eren, like with Erwin's like guilt, everything was all based on just like regular
Yeah.
life stuff that we experience. And then now it's all just like it's part of some.
It lost a lot of the human element that I like, and that's
Yeah.
why with
everything became bigger than like an individual character. It was
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of individual character building in the beginning,
and
then
also
once you had the
introduces
big stuff,
so many new characters to show all these different points of views, because we have an entirely different countries to introduce to, that it becomes very like, okay, yes, I'm just watching this for the story now, but I really don't care what
Right,
happens.
yeah.
Which is just a big bummer, because I do really like a lot of the characters this show set up. And a lot of the characters that I like aren't really in some of the
No,
new season
they're
that I
not.
like. Like, Levi, he's kind of...
He's
he's
literally
he's
laying
like
on
laying.
a card
Yeah.
for like
he's
the
just-
past couple of episodes.
And
man.
even then, I'm still like, he could probably kill someone with 3
Yeah.
fingers.
For
Well,
real.
and then I saw a recent video on how the relationship between Levi and Annie is very.
I don't know
It's-
about that.
It's very confusing because Annie killed his entire squad, the original
Oh.
Levi squad,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you got him literally sitting across from her, campfire setting.
Yeah.
That's not being addressed.
I don't
I
think.
wish it was. I don't think.
Yeah, because that's the same... You know what it is? It should be the same way how he treats Zeke.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you killed Erwin, you killed this,
Yeah.
all my men.
But
And-
the original kill was his squad.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
understand. I guess he's just like, okay, who am I more mad at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in the context of what's also going on, there's much bigger shit to deal with.
Yeah.
And I do mean much bigger shit to deal with.
I don't like how they brought in Annie. Just because, like, I don't know, I was angry at her. Like, I was personally, like, still mad. And then, like, when she came out, everyone was like, oh, it's okay.
No, I like that they brought
Yeah.
out the crystal. I liked
Yeah.
her initial interactions with Hitch.
Yes.
But then they like literally dumped her in the scene with the eating the pie, and I was
Yeah,
like,
what happened?
It's
Thank you.
funny, but it's like it's such.
Oh my
it's,
God,
No,
for-
it's
because-
terrible.
They just run into each other. I can't buy that.
Okay, that's what... Okay, for all the shit that we've been talking about, oh, this has such great writing, and for that to happen, I was just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
That's how they just magically come across this character.
Right.
It's
Literally,
We've
funny.
been waiting for her for 3 seasons to wake up.
Now, it is funny.
It's
but
funny as fuck.
It's funny on initial reaction, like, ha, there she is. Then you're like, wait.
There she is. That is not just how it happened. She's
Yeah.
just like stuffing her face with pie.
What do you
Because
guys-
it's also this weird thing where it's like such like a weird detour to like
Yeah.
explore her and Hitch, ultimately to be like, and we're just gonna put her
We're
with the
gonna,
main
like-
group.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave Hitch behind.
What do you guys think about like the campfire scene?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
It's a very
But
well. It's obviously a very emotionally raw scene.
I'll watch it tonight.
Oh my God, the scene with the boat. We can't really talk about it, but like with Commander McGrath.
McGrath.
That was the first part of season 4 that actually like got to me. Like
That did. I was like, shit, bro. I can't cry because my roommate's in here. My roommate's in here, and I know she'll make fun of me. It's basic. Favorite characters, because I don't know.
I dressed up as Mikasa
Okay.
for Halloween, my 8th grade
Cool.
year.
That's pretty cool.
Reiner.
Reiner. And I know,
I like Historia. I think she got done dirty.
yeah, okay, I agree with that.
I think that the fact that they
I will say my favorite moment does involve a moment between our two favorite characters.
Is
It's
it
when
the skirt?
yes, and he's just like, I'm gonna marry you.
Oh, I love that part.
I was
Whatever
just,
happened to that? Are they still?
no,
No.
it's
Drops.
Farmer.
It's Farmer Coon now.
Yeah,
Literally, his
what?
face is never actually
Oh,
drawn.
yeah.
It's
just anonymous farmer. But no, I'm really mad that they undid her relationship with Ymir
Ymir,
just to
yeah.
make her get married to literally a random man whose only purpose is that she can
And
get
I
married
will
to a man
say,
and get pregnant.
that was one of my biggest things plot-wise was what they did with Ymir.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
I like that character. I just
I love-
she's just not in the show for.
Not to say this in the vaguest terms, the relationship to Ymir at the end, it's
What?
Just don't.
I'm
spoil
not
it.
going to say anything, but you know what I'm talking
I
about.
know, and it's just
It's not good.
yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of feelings there too because she was like my favorite character.
Yeah, she was a really cool character because she was just like a very different kind of character from the rest, where she was literally like this. I don't want to say bitchy because it's not bitchy. She was just very tough.
No nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
kind of like she just took reality and she just rolled with it. Like
Yeah,
everyone
she-
else is freaking out because they,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
they're like freaking out because Titans are eating their friends, and she's like, "Well,
I mean-
what the fuck did you expect?
Yeah.
You
yeah.
signed up for this job, like."
Like I know a lot of people like her, where she's
Yes.
like, "What did you expect?"
Yeah, and
That's what I really liked about the character, and yeah, like. I don't know, the Reiner Historia thing, that was just a really funny moment for me. But I just like that character because, again, he is just this character where he's set in this situation where he's like, if I don't do this mission, I just go home a failure. And, like, I've already lost one of my teammates because of a decision, because of an action that clearly happened because of me.
2.
technically too. Yeah, I mean,
The one when they first got to the
yeah, that's
island.
what I was talking about. Who else are you
And
talking
then
about?
Berthold.
I was thinking Annie.
Oh, then his entire team.
His entire team, yeah, his entire
Minus
team
Zeke, minus
basically
Zeke.
got fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know. I just love the tragedy of that character where he's literally like, at a point when he comes back home, he has like PTSD.
Yeah.
It's just a sad character that I really like. And honestly, whenever he fights Eren in this new season, I'm always just like, yeah, fucking get him, Reiner. Because like, even though it's weird because yes, he is. If we're judging by what team he's playing for, he's technically a Nazi. Blonde hair. And,
Yeah.
does he have blue eyes? I don't know. But he fits that
Does he?
description of
I
like
think
a.
Annie has blue eyes. That's the only one I'm jumping to right now.
He does. He just
gonna look
fits
this
the
up.
description of like a Aryan. in
Yeah,
India.
yeah.
But then there's the thing where he's
But he's not perfect. That's what I like about it. He's like he fits the description of like what this model
Dude, what color is his eyes?
Marlian that these people are wanting to go for, but he is not perfect, and he's just trying to get by. And he
They're
just
not blue.
They're not.
are they brown? Are they like black? Are they just
They're
Oh
like
damn it! They're that hazel gray
yeah.
shit.
hazel gray eyes?
Looked it
Well,
up.
I guess Isayama wanted to leave a touch of subtlety.
And this is like in
Who
every
chooses this?
picture. Like they're always that like hazelish.
It's like no clear eye color.
Yeah.
know what?
He didn't have a problem with the blood libel, but making the Nazi allegory too overt, that was the danger.
I don't know.
That was the
I like the
crossing line.
character because he's just like even before it's revealed that he's the armored Titan. I was like, fuck yeah, Reiner, because he has that moment where he literally picks up one of the smaller Titans and throws that bitch out the window. And I was just like, that's fucking sweet. And like, but then when you find out what he is, it's a real tragedy because he was like everybody looked up to Big Brother Reiner
Yeah.
because he was this like he was a physically demanding presence.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, but the more you like peel back, like he literally lost all of his teammates because of his actions. I don't know. There's a moment where there's a moment in the fourth season, part 1, where he's just like, I give up.
Yeah, he wants to die.
He just wants to die, but then he's just like, it's the John Wick scenario of like, just one more fight. Just one more.
Doesn't Gabby, though, come and, like, talk to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Falco and Gabby, but
Yeah.
I think it's both of them, and they're like, Ryder! And he's just like, fuck, okay, and then he gets back up and fights. Well, he doesn't fight him, he just he gets a good glass jaw punch to the face.
His jaw. I was
Jaw
thinking of
broke.
the sexy Squidward. Especially when he went bald in the second part of season 3.
That's right.
I'm really
Because
sorry
doesn't
if I
like
just
the-
ruined your image of Ryder. I really love Onyako-pon.
Yeah, okay, I do
Yeah.
Because he's A, only sane man there. B, because
too. He has the best memes.
No, well,
Sorry.
and because his interactions with the team right after he released them from the underground prison, he was telling them that he wasn't part of Yelena's euthanasia plan. Because that's a whole other thing.
Oh,
On its
yeah.
own.
So many different stuff.
There's an entire plan for one character decides, hey, I have an idea to figure out our solution. No one of this entire race should be able to have kids so that we can no longer be born.
And which race is that?
The Eldians, a.k.a.
Yes. So what you're saying is that one of the characters comes up with a plan to sterilize their allegory for Jewish people.
This character is the main character's brother.
Yes.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
And it's Zeke,
We
right?
didn't even talk
Yeah.
about Z.
It's his whole thing because he...
I mean, Zeke is just an actual Nazi. Like,
yeah, he's a literal
yeah.
Nazi.
Yeah.
Like, if your favorite character is Zeke, instant red flag.
yeah, that happens sometimes in anime. I feel that same way about like Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter.
You know
Where it's
what?
just
Instant
like,
red flag.
yeah, it's just,
Your favorite character is that... Oh,
yeah.
not to touch you with a 10-foot pole. But...
Which is weird because I really liked his mentor because I was like, oh yeah.
Well, see, his mentor is also...
But then when you you kind of see where the mentor is coming from, but then when you see where that tragedy takes that character to be like,
It's an interesting
No one
tragedy,
should-
but I never saw where the mentor was coming. Back to Onyako-pon. He's my favorite character because he's explaining why he's not with this group that's trying to euthanize the Eldians is because it plays... He says he's not with them because he believes that children are the future. And
yes.
it's that one line. It's just the one line, and I'm like, this guy is my favorite because I believe in that a lot.
I do too.
I totally see where he's coming from. The man can literally, you know what? Let him take charge of the plot, and
Oh yeah.
you're fine.
He's
But then that also makes me sad because he doesn't get a lot of screen time after that,
Yeah.
other than being the guy you go to fly your boat, which doesn't make any sense.
I mean, again, fucking look at Historia. A
Yeah.
female character who had an actual role in the story that was relegated to being pregnant at the end.
That frustrated me.
Yeah, housewife.
So,
Yeah.
literal.
Literally went from being like an overtly gay character,
And
Yeah.
Queen,
yeah,
Queen.
and
Yeah, super
queen,
strong.
to like sidelined housewife.
who can't do any of the action because she's pregnant.
Exactly.
And they didn't even show, like, the relationship. It was just all of a sudden she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, she's pregnant.
Yeah, I was.
I would like to add on that she is like 19 as well.
Yeah.
She is young as
Okay,
well.
I don't want to get into the Japanese age.
Well, I mean, but that's like even in Japan, getting married at 19 is not like a common thing.
Yeah.
Let alone getting.
Yeah, let
Pregnant.
alone being impregnated to have a royal heir. I'm not even going to call it getting pregnant because that implies that she chose it.
Yeah. No, it's.
Oh god.
I mean, fucking Levi choked her out until she
They
did it, basically.
They cut that from the anime. He was like, "You."
Yeah, no, in the manga,
I
he
will
literally.
be queen,
Yeah, in
or
the-
I will
Yeah,
murder you.
well, I
right
believe
here.
the specific line that he
Stop.
says is that if you don't want to do it, you'll fight back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's literally.
Oh
Like,
my
he
god, you
lifts
guys are
her
ruining
off the
Attack on
ground.
Titan
This is-
for me.
Again,
Yeah.
I cannot express the degree to which
He's like,
Isayama
what
is
are
a
we doing?
weird fuck.
Which
Like,
is why, and there's that line where Mika says, like, you know, you should kind of punch the shit out of Levi, and that comes from that scene, I think, in the manga, which is not there
Well,
obviously in the anime.
in the anime, it's meant to be like, hey, let's mess with our lieutenant. Or,
No,
like,
in
our-
the
like our
manga, it's
commander.
Mikasa going, "Hey, he kind of like,
Choked the
choked
shit out
you
of
out.
you."
You
Yeah.
should punch him back."
Right.
Well,
And
I'm
again,
glad that,
that-
the animators are like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
We're not doing
And again,
that.
like, that language is so fucking loaded.
Yeah.
Like, that, yeah.
God damn it, it came from Levi too.
Yeah.
Which was also like a drawback for me with Levi too. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
this
was
is what the
wrong then.
first thing that I learned about Levi, by the way, which is what prompted me to ask my friend, like, so why do people like him?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of that. There's,
I'm starting to really rethink a lot of my things that I like in life.
yeah.
Well, just like, again, with Attack on Titan, it's like, you just gotta think about, like, hey, it's okay to say, like, this is really consistently written, right?
It
Like,
is.
but you gotta just, like, side that with, but also all of this shit is really bad. You have to consume critic. I think the point, and I do think this is like an important thing to think with Attack on Titan, is that you can't use not liking politics as an excuse to endorse things that are overtly
Yeah.
fascist
Yeah.
holistically. Because that is what Attack on Titan is in every sense. It implicitly endorses so much of this shit. And again, without spoiling, especially the ending goes in that direction.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking hard, even in comparison to the
Also,
rest of it.
we can also say this. If you like this show and manga, that doesn't make you a fascist, a racist,
You
or
can,
any
you
of
can
this.
absolutely appreciate this show.
On like a writing, a character development, a good
Right.
mystery box show too.
Yeah, and like that's the
Doesn't
thing.
make you want to hate Jewish people.
Exactly.
Right,
What I would
exactly.
say is that where I would start getting suspicious personally is if you're into this and you aren't willing to be like, hey, it has all this weird shit in it. If you're not like willing to
Yeah.
engage with the content in it that has a lot of problems,
course, yeah.
then that's where I'm going to be like, okay, well, why aren't you?
Also,
Yeah.
if you like certain characters a lot,
Yeah.
Oh,
instant
yeah.
red flag.
Okay.
Again, I have plenty of anime characters like
I like
that.
Irving Smith.
Oh
no!
I was thinking more Flock, but yeah.
Oh,
Erwin
fuck.
Smith. I was
I
thinking
have
more
not
of
met anybody who likes Flock.
No.
I
didn't like him from the beginning.
total opposite.
You like Flock?
No, I have not liked Flock. I have met people who have liked
Oh,
Flock,
okay.
and I'm like,
Yeah. I feel that so many times with anime characters where I'll watch them do a bunch of horrible shit,
and then someone will like them, and I'm like,
or someone will think they're really hot.
hot.
That's
That is
even
also-
more.
That's another thing with Flock too. Everyone's like, oh my god, he's hot now. No, he isn't. He looks like a total creep.
Yeah. He has mushroom hair too.
He has mushroom. Instant dislike because of the mushroom hair. But yeah.
No, that happens all the goddamn time.
But Attack on Titan is absolutely something you can appreciate. You can appreciate the art, you can appreciate the music, you can appreciate the animation, you can appreciate characters' developments, you
Arts.
Yeah.
can arts, you can even appreciate some of the architecture. 'cause-
And the writing.
and some
Yeah,
of the
some of the
writing
writing.
is really good.
Some of the lines are. The
Plot
acting is
points,
really well done.
Good. Yeah, voice acting is really phenomenal.
Like I don't go after any of the actors for any.
Not
of
at
this
all.
stuff.
No. Also, would like to point out, dub voice actors get the shit,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
worst shit. But I'm just saying, like, the dub voice
No.
actors. No, that like to
Yeah,
round back
yeah,
to Attack
yeah,
on
yeah,
Titan.
yeah.
With AOT, I know people have been like, oh, you have to watch the subs, whatever. But I think that you should be kinder to the dub actors.
Oh, yeah,
because they're giving it their all. And I
Oh,
know
yeah.
the guy who voices Eren Yeager, he was like really excited about this role and really put a lot of his heart into it.
Oh,
I
and he
think.
does that.
Yeah.
For as much as I don't like that character, I gotta admit
He
the
gives
actor
it a
does
lot.
he puts a lot into it.
He gives it his all. While you appreciate all of that of Attack on Titan, you must be able to criticize it, because if you can't criticize it, then there is something wrong there, because a lot of what Attack on Titan has is very, very, very problematic. It is. It obviously took us a really long time just to go through, like,
That's because we
top
didn't
of
know
the
everything.
iceberg.
Right.
Yeah,
Shit.
because I had no idea.
And, which was
when I first
awesome,
started- yeah.
actually, because we were able to explain it.
And me
Yeah.
too. You
And
told
Max.
me a bit about
Yeah.
it, but like a lot of the shit.
Because a lot
But
of
yeah, you like
It
it
was also
really.
fun to like talk
Yeah.
with you about this too, because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's good. I'm not just the only one who doesn't know.
Right, yeah.
Right,
No, yeah, it's
Which
really.
I feel like a lot of people don't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like a fake fan because like I don't know all the deets.
Yeah, you
I don't feel like
yeah,
a
you know, it's
fake
Google.
fan.
Yeah.
I just feel like I just watched the show as like, hey, this is a good show, but learning more about
That's sort of how I watched it when I watched the first round, and then I learned all that shit and I rewatched it with like different lenses. And you gotta be able to criticize
Yeah.
your favorite show.
Yeah.
This show in particular, obviously criticized the fuck out of it.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever, with me at least, I know that the more I like something, the more prone I am to picking at the small things that are
Yeah,
wrong with it.
absolutely.
Or like
Yeah.
the weird moments.
Yeah. So like,
And you can do the same thing with Attack on Titan. It's just
Absolutely.
much more thematically significant.
yeah, it definitely overshadows most, if not all, of the show.
Yeah, especially everything
Everything
past the
past the
basement.
basement. Like,
Yeah.
I think early episodes you can.
That's what
Watch
I
with-
think everybody's watching, comparing it with like the rose-colored glasses of the first
Yeah.
seasons.
And you
And then
really
when you
shouldn't
get
do
into
that
this-
because that takes away.
Yeah, it's
what
fucking
the
frogs
show-
boiling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Watch
that
this.
your-
Watch this show because it's. I think it's actually a pretty important piece of media if you want to
Oh, yeah.
see how this kind of like. Well, A, it's very obviously influential, and B,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's just a good lesson on how to identify these themes, how to deal with them, and how to learn how to criticize them, and like at the same time simultaneously enjoy like genuinely good pieces of writing.
Yeah.
And
And
all of that.
Any other closing thoughts?
I feel like
Willow?
it's a big part of like anime history.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you can't really
yeah.
ignore it either way.
Yeah.
Well, see,
like
and
the
it's
2010s.
it's interesting because it is. I wouldn't say it's influential yet, but it's going to be.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
like it's interesting because I read a shit ton of manga. If that wasn't clear, and yeah, but like it's
Yeah.
interesting reading mangas because a lot of mangakas who are publishing new stuff right now are like 22, 23.
Yeah.
So they grew up as teenagers with totally different stuff than people who were than like Isayama or
Yeah.
fucking Sui Ishida did.
And then the
And so-
future mangakas who
Yeah.
are going to be looking back on this stuff are going to be influenced, and we're going to just keep getting more or less the same thing because
Oh no.
Yeah, well, I don't, but
similar,
Yeah, I was about
very
to say.
similar,
And
and
is it-
not similar. It's just
Yeah.
So okay, like similar in how the way like
yeah,
he weaves
influenced by
through a
yeah.
plot and like, hey,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna take this character through this, and it's gonna wrap back around to this, and we're gonna explain.
because
Yeah.
I could say that, but
Say what
I was
you
just joking about like, oh
plot
no,
really
Yeah.
is.
he's just gonna make he's gonna make the Nazis.
Yeah.
But Willow.
Yeah, I love Attack on Titan. Even after all this information, I feel like I appreciate it even more now. It's always good to know like what the author is going through, what they're thinking when they're creating the story. And I feel like since it's going to be a huge part of anime history, we need to like keep up with like all the new information people are finding out about the author and about like the different connections between this anime and like Japan's history and world history. It's just super important. But all in all, Attack on Titan is like a must-see.
If nothing else, just listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, listen to the soundtrack.
is absolute baller. If you are a fan of animes like, I believe Blue Exorcist,
Oh my god,
uh,
Black Butler.
Kill la Kill,
Oh
their
really?
Shut up. The soundtrack bops, and it's by the same guy. If you like those soundtracks, give Attack on Titan a listen to because its soundtrack.
Everything is like at an above average level. Like the art
yeah.
style, the writing, besides like
If there's anything
Nazism.
that's like animation wise that some people deem like, it's not as good, it's not because they weren't trying. It's just that again, as Josh brought up earlier, is that they just didn't have some money to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that all you?
yeah.
But yeah, okay, sweet. So my closing thoughts on
That's my
even after everything that we talked about, I still appreciate the show on a lot of artistic capabilities and like how it weaves a really well intricate plot. I like some of the characters. I don't like where some of the characters apparently have come from. I just want to make that abundantly clear. I may not agree with the politics of the writer, but moving on. Yeah, it's definitely, again, you guys said it's going to be one of the most influential shows depending on how well or how bad it sticks its landing. And
Well.
it's good.
I hope they change it. I really hope they do.
Do you think they will?
Yeah.
I think there's
I
a
think they
really
will.
strong chance because the
'Cause they
ending
have
is
changed
so
Yeah, they,
monumentally shit. Like,
everyone, it's the fan reaction to the ending, and I think Mappa's already made some changes to the anime in terms of
yeah.
manga to anime.
Right, again, they cut
that-
Levi choking Historia.
So I can totally see them changing the anime. I
Yeah.
don't know
Okay.
what they do.
Only
Really know
time
what
will
they do.
tell.
Only time will tell. But yeah.
And what's going to happen is the anime onlys are going to hear that the manga ending is different, and they're going to look it up, and they're going to be like, "Thank you, Mappa."
All right. This has been $1 Million Media. I'm your host, Max Kellerhalls. If you have been listening to this on Wave Radio, please listen to our other shows. I know Katie has her own show. If you're listening to this on my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, I hope you all had a good time. First week of anime April. Off to a great start. And yeah, thank you. Bye.